Hello, we are Group 3, and our case is on the Cola Wars. My name is Chris Jackson, and I am unable to be with you today, but Trevor, Corbin, and Izzy will be your presenters today. Let's get started with some fun facts about the cola industry. We learned in the cases about the companies, their numbers, and foundations from where they started, but let's get a little bit more understanding and some fun facts in. Fanta was created by a Coke executive who was cut off from the US during World War II. He and his team created Fanta from a German word and started selling it in Germany during the war. Once the war was over, Coke took control of the factory and the brand and then discontinued it until 1955 when it brought the brand back for use in Europe, Asia, and Africa. Currently, it is also here available in the United States, but does not enjoy the same popularity as it does in the other continents. Pepsi was the first company to put their product in a 2 liter. Pepsi's leadership in the retail sector means that they focused on take home product in larger quantities for family. This was a great innovation for Pepsi and has now been copied by all the competitors in the similar space. You may not know, but Coke has more than 3,500 brands that are sold around the globe. If you drank one brand per day, it would take you over 9 years to try them all. Many of these brands are available in the United States, but only at the Coca Cola headquarters in Atlanta, Georgia. And finally, Pepsi has been a strong advertiser for the Super Bowl and a strong partner. They have aired over 125 different advertisements during the Super Bowl since 1987. These are some fun facts. Hope you enjoyed them. Let's get started on the actual case. Coca Cola was invented in Atlanta by a pharmacist, John Pemberton, and was used as a potion for mental and physical affliction. In 1891, a company bought the formula and started to invest in a sales force and brand advertising. Coca-Cola is one of the most valuable brands in the world as of today, and they have maintained that value by defending the brand and trademarks in court from brands that sounded similar, but in some instances used C's instead of K's or tried to piggyback off of the Coke brand and their advertising. To prevent a generic version of the name from entering the market, Coke was very vicious in the way it defended its brand in court. Some other companies that have been genericized are companies like Escalator, Aspirin, Zipper, and even heroin has fallen to this concept. But Coke has a strong history of protecting its brand and has helped make it synonymous with American culture and the cola industry. After World War II and subsequent fights in Asia and around the globe, Coke turned its attention back to the United States market, and in 1950, Pepsi was on the rise and ready to take on Coke. Let's pivot to Pepsi. Pepsi started in the South as well, but in North Carolina by a pharmacist named Caleb Brandham. But it was not as financially successful as it had to declare bankruptcy in the 20s and then in again the 30s. Since Pepsi was competing against a larger rival, they fought their war on price by using the slogan, twice as much for a nickel too, to give consumers 2 times the amount of soda for the same price as Coke's. In the 1950s, the market share for Coke was at 47%, and only 10% was Pepsi's. To compete in a different channel, Pepsi went after supermarkets. That channel grew from over 10,000 supermarkets in 1945 to almost 32,000 in 1962. And Pepsi was well positioned to grow with that trend, as Coke had predominantly dominated the fountain industry. Finally, Pepsi also competed by creating and innovating on flavors, bringing Mountain Dew to the market and Diet Pepsi in 1964. Later, they brought out brands such as Slice and introduced a caffeine-free version of Pepsi to better compete against Coke. So where are they today? Currently, Coke and Pepsi are facing a consumer who is much more diet conscious. Cola intake was increasing pretty consistently from the 60s on into the 90s. In 2000, the demand for sugary beverages started to a downward trend that is still happening to this day. As consumers look for ways to cut calories, some low-hanging fruit are usually sugary colas. This has meant a fundamental shift in how Pepsi and Coke have to compete for their share of the stomach for every consumer. And as much as these two companies fight it out for market share, top of mind brand recognition, and loyal consumers, both companies need each other. Without one, it is likely the other would not be nearly as successful or popular as they are today. Thank you very much, and I'm going to turn it over to my presenters.